photo/oblique images, maintenance, and other related services. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Mendez at large.
Hi, so on this one, I guess I just didn't know what digital ortho, I can't even say it. Can somebody tell us what that is, please?
Let's see, do we have anyone here? And I don't see her. Is there anyone from finance that could? This is the sole source.
Hi, my understanding is that it's the image part of what goes along with the GIS system. Yeah. Okay.
So we're 100%.
Attorney Cooper, can you speak into the microphone for the viewing audience?
I think this is for the company that does the actual flyovers where they take the pictures of all the parcels, everything.
And all we use it for is the planning department, no other purposes?
And the property assessor.
The property assessor also uses it.
Okay. Are we 100% sure or pretty much sure?
I know for a fact that the property assessor and planning are the two biggest users.
All right, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilman Mendez, and they were supposed to be here today. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1655, sponsors Vircher, Withers, and Sledge, approves amendments to 5 grant contracts for constructing affordable housing approved by RS 2017-965 between the Metro Housing Trust Fund Commission and certain nonprofit organizations. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilwoman Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. I just was hoping someone would be here that could speak to the outcomes of this since 2017.
I don't see any representatives. I don't see anyone from the Housing Trust. I don't see. Does anyone from the finance table happen to have any outcomes for Councilwoman Weiner?
I'm going to move to defer pending that information being shared with us.
Councilwoman Weiner, it suggested that it goes to personnel tomorrow, if we could afford them to defer, but it's totally your pleasure if you want to make that motion.
I think it's important for us to have that information in, okay. All right, can you move this to the Hill so that they can get somebody up here? Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Weiner. Okay, we're going to move RS 2019-1655 to the Hill. So now we're on RS 2019-1656, sponsors Vircher Syracuse. Approves an amendment to a participation agreement between Metro and Capital View Joint Venture concerning the construction of public park improvements and the donation of a parcel of property. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1657, sponsors Weiner and Bettney, approves an agreement between Metro and Harpeth Valley Utility District for water and sewer lines at the Ford Ice Center in Bellevue. And we do have a letter for approval from the sponsors. Their motion. It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilwoman Weiner, do you want me to come back to you? You want me to come to you first, or you want me to go to the discussion? Okay, Councilwoman Weiner.
I just wanted to share that this project is integral to creating a destination location in Bellevue. It would be hard for us to have ice at the Ford Ice Center without water lines, and so this is especially important to that. For the money that Metro is investing in this project, we're getting a return on our investment that is multifold. So I really would appreciate your approval. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Weiner. Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I read through the analysis and was just trying to get a better understanding of we're paying to get the lines installed, and then we're paying for the maintenance on the first year, and then HVUD will own it. Is that correct?
You want to answer, Councilwoman Weiner, or do you want me to defer to?
Let's go ahead just for the sake of argument and let somebody from either Water or Finance answer the question. But then if there's anything I need to add, I will.
Okay. Looks like we have Ms. Whittemore from General Services.
Your analysis is correct. So there's a $57,000 that we will be paying. As part of that, they take an administrative fee, which is 10%. The construction, which was quoted at $192,477, and then you have a list of the things that the $57,000 covers that utility district that we're paying for.
And was that listed in the analysis?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I just didn't connect it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman Allen. Do you have any further questions? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1658, sponsors Virtue and Betnay, approves a hazard mitigation grant from the Tennessee Emergency Management Agency to the Metro Department of Water and Sewage Services and authorizes the acquisition and removal of 2 houses located in the Whites Creek floodway and floodplain in Davidson County. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1659, sponsor Virtue, authorizes the Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Mary Moore Akpamgo against Metro Government in the amount of $5,589.56. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1660, sponsor Virtue, authorizes the Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Victoria Ezeacha against Metro Government in the amount of $10,000. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1661, sponsor Virtue, approves a contract between the Metro Government and Isaiah 58 Incorporated for the collection and recycling of mattresses, box springs, and carpet. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Pulley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of quick questions here. Is this first time we've done this, or have we been doing this before?
We'll have Public Works come up.
Sharon Wallstrom with Public Works. Councilman, we have done this before, so this is another contract because the last one expired.
So it's something we've always been doing, and
Yes.
this is just a redo of the contract?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Thank you, Councilman Pulley. Councilwoman Weiner.
Thank you. What kind of return on investment do we get from this? Or is it strictly that we pay for it?
We pay for it, but it keeps it from going into the landfill, and it is a recycling. So
is there any mechanism by which we could retain any fees for that to offset the cost?
not at this point, there's not. If we didn't pay them to recycle, we would be paying the higher cost to have it disposed of in the landfill.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Weiner. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1662, sponsors Virtue, excuse me, approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation to the Metro Public Works Department to support the implementation of the 2015-2025 Solid Waste and Materials Management Plan. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just wondering if probably Ms. Wallstrom or someone from Public Works could speak to how this interfaces with our zero waste master plan that's in the works now.
This is actually mainly interfacing with our every other week recycling program that we're planning on doing. So this allows us to put out more information about contamination, about the recycling program, and to try to boost the amount of items that are going into the recycling bin and making sure that our contamination rate goes down. So that's what we'll be using the grant money for.
Okay, I think that's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Allen. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1664 sponsors Virtue and Sledge, approves a subrecipient grant between the Metro Development and Housing Agency and the Department of Social Services, Homeless Impact Division for one-time payments of first month's rent, security, utility deposits on behalf of homeless persons obtaining housing through various campaigns. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilwoman Weiner.
I have a lot of questions today. I wondered what the criteria were for acceptance into this program, and I have a couple other questions, but I want to start there.
Okay, I'll see if we have someone from the Homelessness Commission, MDHA.
Good afternoon. Judy Tackett, Director of the Metro Homeless Impact Division of Social Services. So the criteria for this one is up to $1,000 in moving costs, specifically for first month rent, security deposits, and utility deposits for people experiencing homelessness and are amongst the most vulnerable.
What do they have to present with in order to be accepted into the program? What do they have to be?
Yeah, and that's where the partnership comes in.
Okay.
So people need to work with a housing navigator. Housing navigators are trained by the Homeless Impact Division. They are working at different nonprofits and government agencies with people on housing. And the application comes through the housing navigator to us. Payment is done directly to landlords or utility districts.
Do they have to have ongoing employment? Excuse me, ongoing employment?
No.
I mean, so you pay the first month's rent for them, and then the next month, if they can't make the payment, they're out. So how do we make that work for them long-term?
That is part of the housing navigator's job, to make sure that there is this ongoing, that they have already worked with them before they go in, so there is a plan in place. Ideally also referral to mainstream services, financial empowerment center and all, but it's not a pre-requirement.
Are there other programs out in other cities, other communities that you have seen a track record of success or not on this?
Yes, it's what is called the housing first approach. So you help people get into housing, stabilize, you get medical, you get all types of services wrapped around them, see if they need SSI, SSDI income. It's a concept that has, for years, has a really successful track record.
Okay, great. That's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Weiner. Councilwoman Allen.
Thank you. And just to follow up with that, is this the House Nashville program that we've been doing for 4 or 5 years, or is this a different animal?
It's the same thing. It's one of the sources that we use to help for moving costs.
Gotcha. And so we've kind of got our own track record with that program.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Allen. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Chair. So when I'm looking at a not to exceed $124,000, do I read in that, take that divided by 1,000, so we're looking at a maximum 124 people that would be able to take advantage of this?
The average payment is around $660 per person per household, so $660.
Okay.
So yes, it's 180, 200 people, but this is one of the resources that we use. Overall, per year, we help, I would say, 350 to 400 people.
Okay, and I realize it's coming from MDHA to social services, but how is this money actually being generated?
These funds are community development block grant funds that are allocated to the city of Nashville and a part of our annual action plan.
And so when they're being generated, who's generating them? I guess is
HUD.
HUD is. Okay. All right. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Glover. I have a few questions also. I want to go back just to follow up with Councilwoman Weiner's questions. The various campaigns, just for the viewing audience, can you convey what those campaigns are? And if you can just drill down to the criteria, because this is a $124,000 grant, and although it's going to have a community impact, We want to make sure that that the impact is significant in reaching those that is really going to benefit for long-term housing. To Councilwoman Wiener's point, if we're paying for first month rent and if there's no criteria, no screening process, I don't know what that is. If you just can convey that to the committee.
Mm-hmm. So the screening process is really going through the Metro Homeless Impact Division. We are getting applications from housing navigators who have been working with people experiencing homelessness, literal homelessness. That means they're on the streets or in shelters, in cars, in places not meant for human habitation. And really trying, they have been working and usually working with them for several months before they get to this point. They are actually working with them to apply for Section 8. They are helping them with other paperwork to apply for mainstream services, replace IDs, get all the paperwork together to actually move in. What House Nashville is, it started as a campaign, and what it has become is really relationship building with landlords. So it's also housing search capacities in there as well. We have built relationship with landlords. But it's really looking, we are the ones to verify the homelessness status of people and if they're for MDHA. The other thing on that one, so this is one federal funding pool that we're using. Again, the moving costs for the CDBG dollars for this particular grant are for first month rent, utility deposits, and security deposits. We do supplement that, so sometimes people have arrears. That's just kind of keeps them from and prevents them from moving in. So we have a Metro fund for that we can look at. We still have that whole overall $1,000 per household, but for example, if the moving costs, we get to the 660, we can supplement the rest for some other costs, sometimes an application for a landlord to fill out, or some pet security or something else. I mean, without these costs, we've seen that people just wouldn't get into housing.
So with this grant, just want to make sure, like the separation of the duties, is MDHA, are they administering and monitoring, or are you guys administering and MDHA is monitoring you?
We are administering, MDHA is monitoring us.
We still have some discussion. Councilwoman Allen.
Thanks. Just wanted to circle back, just in the question of are we being good stewards as we use this money? Is there data on what the costs to the city are for people who don't get housed and stabilized, just in terms of emergency room visits or time in jails or whatever? I mean, is this better than spending the money that way?
We know from national studies, yes, and also from, there are certain programs that we've looked at here in Nashville. Yes, definitely, it's cost effective. There's also, we're working with the health department actually on looking where different systems cross. Where the most vulnerable people often have mental health costs, jail systems, that cost, shelter costs. So that study is being discussed, if there's something we can do there. And then I'm going to plug Homeless Management Information System. That is really where we need to invest to actually get all those performance measures at the system level, where we can really measure and have it right there, the outcomes, and not piecemeal together, that I'm standing here and pulling it together and just can show you. Here it is.
Thank you, Councilwoman Allen. Councilwoman Wiener.
Thank you. To your point, I think it'd be interesting for us to have, not to hold this up for that, but I think it'd be important for us to know the success of the program and how many people have really been able to stay out of homelessness, as opposed to those who re-experience homelessness and cannot sustain this. So I think it'd be important for us to have that.
I agree with you 100%. And again, that goes back to Homeless Management Information System. Some of the data we're having is just limited because the database is not as functional as we need it to be. And I've been working really hard to get it there. But what I can go is pull the data that we have and share that with you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Wiener. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1665 approves an amendment to a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to provide the Tennessee Breast and Cervical Screening Program and to provide assistance to clients and facilitate timely access to quality screening and diagnostics. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1666, sponsor Virture, approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Health to the Metro Board of Health to provide the Community Health Access and Navigation in Tennessee program to deliver comprehensive care coordination services to eligible families and children. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. RS 2019-1669, sponsor Henderson, brings awareness to the emerald ash borer's epidemic's impending negative impact on Davidson County's native ash trees and urban tree canopy. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Mendez.
I guess I'm just curious why this is referred to Budget and Finance.
Attorney Jameson.
I see that Councilor Lady Henderson is motioning, so I will defer to.
Okay, Councilwoman Henderson.
Thank you, Chair Vircher.
We hear everything Budget and Finance. I'm just joking. Councilwoman Henderson.
I was myself somewhat surprised by that, but I think I'm glad that we have the opportunity to speak about it because I think this will have budgetary implications for us as a city within our Parks Department, within our Public Works Department. It is anticipated that up to 10% of our tree canopy is ash trees. And so in progress presently, I believe, is a plan for how to address this, and that's being worked on internally to Metro. So, I hope this resolution will raise awareness of this epidemic in the community, but also among colleagues and for us as a Budget and Finance Committee, that we need to make sure that Parks, Public Works, and other committees are kind of factoring this in the coming years, because as these trees die, they become very brittle, they snap, they are very much dangerous and a public hazard. So I, too, Councilman Mendez, was surprised that it was referred here, and I did not specifically request that, but I'm glad that we did have the opportunity to highlight that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Henderson. The committee will note that. Councilman Mendez.
I've almost defeated the urge, but not quite, to ask whether the plan is to just build a stage on every one of these.
Couldn't help yourself, could you? Okay, seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. Now we're on bills on second reading. We'll begin with BL 2019-1544, sponsors Virture, Gilmore, and Allen, approves an affiliation agreement between Vanderbilt University and Metro Government to provide student clinical instruction and training with the Davidson County Drug Court. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. BL 2019-1545, sponsors Johnson, Mina Johnson, Virture, and others, authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to record a quick claim deed from the State Commissioner of Transportation to the Department of Public Works for certain easements acquired by the state to complete a bridge rehabilitation project at Hillwood Boulevard Bridge over CSX Transportation Railroad crossing in Richland Creek. We do have a letter to approve from the sponsors. Their motion. It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. BL 2019-1546, sponsors Rosenberg, Virture, and others, approves and authorizes the Director of Public Property Administration to accept a donation of property located at 0 Morton Mill for use as part of the park system. We do have a letter of approval from the sponsors. Their motion. It's been moved and properly seconded. Seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Bill is recommended. Now that brings us back to Resolution RS 2019-1655, sponsors Virtue, Withers, and Sledge, approves amendments to 5 grants for constructing affordable housing approved by RS 2017-965 between the Metro Housing Trust Fund Commission and certain nonprofit organizations. Is there a motion? It's been moved and properly seconded. Councilman Mendez at large.
I'm, for one of these recipients, new level, I have an unpaid board position and will abstain from voting on this one. Thanks.
We have you marked. Councilwoman Weiner.
Thank you, Chair. I was just hoping to get more information about the program.
Thank you. I'm Hannah Davis from the Mayor's Office. I work as the Affordable Housing Manager overseeing the Barnes Fund. These 5 recipients received back tax lots to be able to build affordable housing on. And because the back tax lots had a lot of cleanup work required to be able to actually begin construction, they all are requiring an extension on the original 24-month contract.
How successful has this program been in the past? What kind of outcomes?
So far, we have funded 1,300 units of affordable housing. These 5 developers in particular have a strong track record of development of affordable housing. And so the problems that they ran into, they have been able to share with us how we can help clean those up going forward and make amendments to the original contract so that we won't have to continue to come back.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you seeking recognition, Councilman Mendez? Additional recognition? Councilwoman Henderson.
Thank you, Chair Furcher. My question was also about the Barnes Fund. I think in response to the recent announcement of the administration looking at the addition into Barnes, I had gone to the website and I recognize y'all have been in transition, but to Council Lady Weiner's question about the effectiveness and kind of how we're dispersing these funds and how many affordable units that's creating, I don't see any reporting from the last 2 years. And so I didn't know if you could speak to where you are on reporting about the grants that we're making and the effectiveness of how many units that's generating, please.
Yes, yes. So I came on 2 months ago, and previously there had been a short gap between staffing. So that accounts for some of the lack in reporting that you've seen online. And we have the internal reporting, but in terms of packaging those in creating documents to help the public understand what the Barnes funding is going towards, that's a priority for us. It also links up with something we're working with Council Lady Allen on in terms of the scorecard, the housing scorecard. So our plan is to have something this month, now that it's April, to be able to share with Council. That, just for your reference, the Housing Trust Fund Commission is going to be doing strategic planning this summer, and part of that will be to formalize the public reporting side of the Barnes as well, so that that becomes more of a steady process from the grant management all the way out to the public reporting. We are in a grant cycle right now, and so once that's done, that then gives us a chance to catch up and be able to analyze the data so far.
Okay, and so the date by which you think that might be pulled together and have kind of a public face on the website, or for us to be able to see? You mentioned kind of later this month as it relates maybe to Council Lady Allen's engagement on the scorecard, but just the back reporting, you know, of last year. When do you think you might have that?
I think we can get, you know, a sort of summary of what's been done thus far. I think something we're working on is to be able to report more thoroughly on the entire public benefit of these units as well. That will be a more in-depth analysis. But our hope would be to have something before the end of this fiscal year that really wraps up and displays what the impact has been.
Okay, so
June,
not prior to budget season?
I can get back to you on that.
Okay, I'd appreciate that. I think that'll be, I mean, I appreciate the larger context you're doing and all that, that's going to be great to see, and I appreciate that. But
I would encourage you, Hannah.
yeah, just especially just kind of last year, what we put, what that generated.
Okay.
Because if we want to have, a good budget conversation in the affordable housing space, we're going to need that.
Right, we have that data, and so I can get that to you before the budget conversations happen in terms of the $27 million that's already been spent, the 1,300 units that have been created from that, the $127 million of private money that's leveraged, and so we can put that in a format that everyone can be able to see and then have a discussion around.
Great, so I hear you saying maybe like end of April, early May? Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Henderson. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to ask you, if you would, Chair, to indulge me, because I want to kind of expand upon what Council Lady Henderson was asking and make sure that I try and stay on task with what I hope I accomplish.
You're indulged.
So when we look at the 1,300 units, we look at the $27 million, the 100 and I don't remember, you said 100 and some odd million of private dollars that have gone out. I don't think maybe others have the 5 grants specifically. We're talking about expanding the contract from 24 to 36 months. I'd like to know those things. But I think rather than just last year, I think since we began putting in $10 million out of our operational budget each year, and Chair, this is where I'm asking Council Lady Henderson and others, quite frankly, in the room to make sure I'm not missing something. I don't remember if that was 3 years ago. I don't remember if it was 4 years ago. I don't know. Don't remember exactly when that was. But the total amount of money that's gone in, because I think any of us who witnessed the announcement last week of a massive $750 million that I will tell you point blank, I don't know where we come up with that money, but none of the math is working out on what you just quoted. The 1,300 versus the 1,000 in additional units for the 750 million. So, Madam Chair, I think what I'm really wanting to know is how much total money have we put in for the Barnes Fund? Where are we exactly? And what has that accomplished? And then the other piece would be, and I think Council Lady Henderson, I want to try to make sure that I don't say this incorrectly. That we do understand the effectiveness of it, and is it working? Is the money working as efficiently as perhaps we thought it would when this began? Is that okay?
Yes, Hannah,
Thank you, Chair.
did you get all those questions? Okay. I ask that your response, that you send them back to myself and Mr. Jameson so we can get those back to committee members. I also want to expound upon Councilwoman Henderson's and Councilman Glover's questions also. So this is what we're amending. In finance, you can correct me if I pull my figures incorrectly. This is the $4.5 million that we approved two years ago. And the reason why there hasn't been any traction in developing affordable housing units is because these developers had to clean up the actual lots. I just want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly.
Yes, so these are, the amendments aren't to all of the $4.5 million that was granted out in the 2017 resolution. It's to specific addresses. Because the addresses fall under the larger grant contracts, the amendments are made to all of those. But there have been units that have been completed from that round.
Okay, so the legislation doesn't specify specific addresses. It's just talking about the overall agencies. Also, I don't know if this is a Mr. Jameson question or an Attorney Cooper's question, but the original resolution from 2017, it says to construct affordable housing and/or workforce housing. And this resolution is saying it's just amending affordable housing. So I don't know if we need a technical correction there to make sure that we're voting on what we need to be voting on, or we're saying now that these agencies are just going to do affordable housing and not focus on workforce housing as a part of this amendment to the contract.
I think it's just the extension. It'd be a housekeeping change, if anything. This is just extensions from anywhere from 24 to 36 months. It's just a timing extension. It doesn't alter the substance of it in any other way otherwise.
Okay. Also, this is a question for Hannah, too. Do we have a comprehensive affordable housing plan for the city? Or are we just throwing something up and see if it sticks and where?
The plan that I'm working off of is the 2017 housing report that gave a direction for where there's need, and there's a policies and procedures document that governs the Barnes Fund that was created by the Metro Housing Commission, and that is what provides us guidance as we create the individual grant rounds.
Can you forward that to the committee so we can get that out on the SharePoint also? I believe I missed that report. Councilwoman Dow.
Thank you, and I appreciate the line of questioning because they were aligned to what I was going to ask. With the addition of, I would be interested in seeing what percentage of the housing that you've done that's been rental housing versus owner-occupied. I think where we are with regard to housing is that it may be better to just have you all come in and host a special meeting, and we can ask all these questions, and you can bring forth all this information. We've seen quite a bit of an investment in housing, and yet I think all of us are interested to see what type of impact we've had so far with the investment that we've made just across the board. So I think it'll be helpful to all of us. The second thing is I am familiar with the housing report in 2017, and I would ask, and when you come forward, we can have this conversation if you're willing to come forward and indulge us in a meeting. Indulge. Like that word.
That's the word of the day.
Yeah, indulge. I used it on purpose for Councilman Glover. But if you come forward and we can have that conversation, I think the other thing is that a lot has changed in this city since 2017. And so even though we have a plan and a policy that was set forth a few years ago, it may warrant looking at updating the plan and how we move forward from there. So I think it'll be an interesting dialogue and conversation for all of us. As well, you might want to bring in how the impact of zoning in our communities, where we've had some people to fight against different type of zoning legislations to preserve certain areas of our community from having affordable housing, how that's impacted the ability to provide affordable housing in communities. So that would be helpful, but maybe we can, through you, Council Lady Virtue, or someone.
Councilwoman Dow, that can go through the Affordable Housing Committee.
Okay.
Budget and Finance Committee is going to, you're going to have your share of meetings.
That's exactly who I think it should go through. Aren't you on housing?
I think by default.
Yes.
I think
Okay,
I'm on
so
every committee.
Exactly. Well, I was just saying, I know you sit in on the affordable housing stuff with Councilman Bedney, so I think it should go through that committee. But the questioning that we have today, I don't know if we can submit it directly through you or however you want to submit it, but I have a couple other things that I won't keep the meeting going, but I will submit those things to you, and if we could address those during that meeting, that'll be great. But I appreciate the work that you do, and thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Dow. I'm going to go to Chairman Mendez, if you want to add to the discussion for affordable housing. And I think I've asked you before, too, where's this comprehensive plan? But go ahead, Chairman.
Thanks. Well, I appreciate everybody's questions, and since I guess with the recent announcements, there's a total restructuring of the affordable housing approach, I'm sure you all would be happy to come in and give a presentation to the Affordable Housing Committee to answer all the questions and probably talk about how the new plan fits in the mix. So I'll work with them to schedule time sometime. We're running out of time before budget season, but definitely before we vote on any budget, I think we could have that meeting with the Affordable Housing Committee.
Get it in sometime this month.
Sure.
Before the hearing starts. Okay, and committee members, the chair has made a commitment to work with them so that we can have a meeting. Want to encourage when that meeting is noticed that you do actually show up and be in attendance. That's just my little. Councilman Glover.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I'm going to expand since we're kind of talking about this. You used a word a moment ago when you said lot, and it made me start thinking about the lots that are seized or taken over, back taxes, et cetera. And I don't know exactly if that needs to fall in here with Budget and Finance I think it certainly falls in line with the question or with the affordable housing. And like yourself, we get to sit on a lot of different committees. And so I don't know which one it falls under on the purview, but hopefully when we go in and have this conversation, we can also talk about that piece as well, because I think that might be uncounted money that is actually going into the possibly the solution that we're not actually auditing the amount of money that we're using in order to try and meet the end result. So I know that was probably a strange way to say it, but I think you understand what I'm trying to look for. Yeah. Thank you, Chair.
Councilman Glover, that can be all encompassing at the Affordable Housing Committee. Going into this budget season, I know last year we did a lot of joint budget and finance and other committee meetings. Just from feedback from committee members, that was really a strain on your time because those, coming from attending the mayoral budget hearings and then rolling into ours, and then also those other special meetings. So I'm trying to limit that this budget cycle and encourage us to make sure that we're using the SharePoint so that when we go into our hearings, we really have a robust discussion.
Okay, thank you, Chair.
Councilman Gilmore, at large.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just going to say, too, with that presentation, it would be nice to see some of the patterns that, as we do the affordable housing plan, just the patterns of crime in the city. I think that piece is important as well. And just
Hannah's
wages.
over there taking notes.
Yeah, and wages and what those persons are. I think all of that's a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to encourage committee members, like any of those components that you want to be added for the special meeting that Chairman Mendez will have, make sure you get that to him so that we're not essentially piecemealing information to that department. So again, when he convenes his committee meeting, it can be robust conversation. Attorney Jameson, I think that brings us to the end of our agenda item, or do we have one more?
We just got to vote on this.
Oh, we didn't vote on it. Oh. Okay. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Resolution is recommended. Now, does that bring us to the end of our agenda? Thank you so much, Attorney Jameson. I want to remind committee members that the budget hearing schedule has been supplied to you. Some departments are making changes. We'll get any updates out to you as soon as possible. Also want to continue to encourage you to use the SharePoint so that we can all be on one accord. Also soliciting any committee members that want to provide potential questions that we need to be asking our nonprofits. We're going to add a session where nonprofits are going to come in and give us an update as well. Again, that's your chair listening to your concerns from last year's budget cycle. So we're going to be incorporating a session with nonprofits. Select nonprofits will have a day to come in and give us an update about their community impact. And with that, we are adjourned.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.